health, investment, efficiency by the people here and around the world has taken a quantum leap. We can get much more for much less. But the fact of the matter is doing that betrays the profitability of legacy interests that are gatekeepers, banking gatekeepers, energy gatekeepers, health gatekeepers, and the gatekeeper business has been obliterated by the internet. And so the gatekeeper businesses are paying our politicians to preserve their gatekeeper status at all of our expense. And the reality is, we have to understand that only if we approach those in power with courage and resolve, this is what we are doing, this is over. But at the same time, with empathy and compassion, like you would an alcoholic who you're telling will no longer be able to drink. Because the fact of the matter is there are a lot of people that are even inside of these machines who I myself and many of you may think of as devils or heroes, who are actually just soldiers in a war that is way beyond their doing. You may not be in favor of the war in Iraq. You may not be in favor of the war in Afghanistan. I am not. But you don't hold the view of that war as something that you then assign to the soldiers in that war. The soldiers in Iraq are soldiers in a bad war, in my opinion. The soldiers in Afghanistan are soldiers in a bad war in Afghanistan. And the question you have to ask yourself is, can I indict the war? Can I indict the banking system? Can I indict the political structure and change it with a harmonic wave, which is what you're looking at, without feeling the need to become violent towards those who are in it? The people that the person who I believe had the highest stakes in this situation and is the model for all of us, it's a cliche but it's true, is Nelson Mandela, who when he became president of South Africa, there was a movement in South Africa for the black community in South Africa to go on a murderous rampage for the white people in South Africa, and they were very justified in that rage because the white community in South Africa had been murdering the black community in South Africa forever. Nelson Mandela rolls up, black president, leader of the black community, and he walks into the black community and he says, let's go make friends with the white people. They're like, he's done gone straight crazy. But the fact of the matter is he knew that if only if he could find an alignment to move forward for South Africa, that ultimately could he move to a place that was healthier for his own people that were his constituency and those who were historically his enemies. And we are at that moment where we are either going to harness our collective agreement, we have a bought government, and that is the issue for this election, period. Or we will fall into the traditional splintering that will allow the status quo to perpetuate its power by making the people that look different than different people and by making the people that do different jobs than different people fight with each other over who's right. And that's a lost fight. And the reason why I asked Deepak Chopra to come down here with me tonight to talk to this crowd was because he is the best person that I know on the subject of intention and understanding and manifesting your intent, not in crusading for a political outcome of some kind. And I believe that it is only our own ability internally to ask ourselves, as he said, what kind of a world do I want to live in? And what am I going to do to manifest that world? With intent. Our egos get lost in outcomes. We're like, well, they should do my idea, or they should do this idea. Why don't they? Because I mean, listen, I went on MSNBC for 3 years. I was like, these people just listen to me, I can fix the whole thing. Everybody thinks that. It's a waste of energy. Because until we actually get principles and goals in place, we're arguing about ideas on a sinking ship. And I don't want to do that. And it's a ship it's a magnificent ship. Why wouldn't we? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't even make sense to me why, like, this is the most rational goddamn thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Hey Dylan, quick question.
Yeah.
Do you think this movement has the opportunity to earn the political clout that the Tea Party does?
I think that this movement is, as I see it, has an opportunity to transcend politics, reach out and expand to include Tea Partiers, to include the root strikers up in Boston, to include all sorts of people around it, to include the cops outside this square, so that we are now in aligned principle. And I believe, remember, Einstein said this, you cannot solve a problem with the same consciousness that created the problem. And it's only if you manifest whatever the next tick up in consciousness is. The consciousness now has been us versus them since the 1960s. We are at a moment where it's just us. And the us, we are just one enormous group of people, not in this square, but on this planet and in this country. All of us are Tea Partiers on some level. All of us are occupiers. All of us are that intention, which is the frustration with a world that lacks fairness. So I actually believe that the possibilities of the energy here, I don't know what I can't speak for the people here or myself. I could get hit by a bus, right? I'm walking home tonight. But I can speak for the permanence of the energy here, such that the energy has the potential not only to represent a political voice, but much more importantly, the energy here has to represent a voice of principle of human beings. And it's the voice of principles of human beings that matter the most right now, because it is the principles of our humanity that are being breached by the bot government.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ego is our enemy.
What's that?
Ego is our enemy.
Ego is our enemy. I mean, the interesting thing is that, yeah, I mean, if you talk, it's hard, you know? But if you work from a place of gratitude, if you work from a place of love, if you work from a place of compassion, if you work from a place of equanimity, and if you, when you look into yourself in the eye, what I do myself is I look at myself in the mirror and you're like, oh, it's like, you look pretty good, you got my fucking jacket on, I'm pretty good. Look yourself in the eyes, look in your eyeball, and ask yourself, am I feeling gratitude? Am I feeling love? Am I feeling equanimity? Am I feeling compassion? If you ask yourself that, what you'll see is, because remember, the projection is the reflection. So you'll see whatever you're projecting when you look in the mirror, and then as you calibrate your own intentions, you'll see your eyes sparkle with clarity. And all of a sudden, you can still wield power, you can still do all these things, but you're doing it from a place of compassion, equanimity, and love, as opposed to a place of ego. Ego says, I'm right and you're wrong. Ego says, I'm us, you're them. Principle says, we are. Respect all of us, and I will respect you. And if that's not a Tea Party message, if that's not an occupier message, if that's not an American message, if that's not a message of the people of the earth, I do not know what is. And the only thing, here's the thing, you guys. This shit's been going on for as long as there have been people, rich people in government. The pharaohs, the Egyptians, the samurai in London, there's nothing new about this, okay? The only thing that's new is that for the first time in the history of human existence, we have the ability to connect through this unified field that is the digital universe, and as a result, there's so much more shared information that the capacity for the unspoken masses to represent themselves through digital waves is without precedent. The question is, will those waves spill in a way that is self-destructive with rage, or will those waves be harnessed in a way that actually alters the ecosystem? Remember, people don't create results. Ecosystems create results. Environments. There's thousands of variables happening at the same time that create every outcome. Everybody wants to get in there, myself included. I can feel it in my own head. And I'll give a list. I'll just give them a list, and they'll give my list, and we'll be fine. That's wrong. Not because your list is wrong, but because you don't know everything else that exists that you don't know. And you have to have the humility to understand that there are things that constantly are manifesting and existing that you simply don't understand or know, because nobody does. That's what the unified field is. Once you can accept that and learn how to relate to the unified field, which is through intention, not through outcome. It's through that unified intent that is here and everywhere else that ultimately this problem will resolve itself. The thing that people don't realize, I think, is that the change is already done. And now we're just in a period of time that'll be, I don't know whether it's 10 years, 20 years, hopefully not that long, where that change will manifest itself. But the change, the horses have left the barn, so to speak. I mean, the last thing that I'll say in terms of what's going on is remember there was, in Sag Harbor, out on Long Island, they used to catch whales, bring them on the dock, chop them up, put the blubber on a train, bring the blubber back to New York, and use it for lights on the street. Whales were electricity. They're like, we need some light down here in the square. They're like, somebody go kill a whale. All right. then we invented electricity. If we had the government structure we have now, the whale blubber oil guys would have paid off the government to make sure electricity never happened. That's what we have to solve. And that's why these people are here, and that's why the Tea Partiers are here, and that's why this is a single unified principle that can easily get lost in the millions of different identities and millions of different ideas. But the identities and the ideas are the weapon of the power structure. Because when they invest you in your identity and your idea, they can bring out your ego and it creates the brawl. Our weapon is our intention and our ability to align around the principle and accept that we do not know, but that we also do know that our principle is that of fairness, that our values are that of shared visibility, integrity, choice, in a path that leads to alignment. And that is the only thing that I actually feel like I know. The way I live my life right now is I'm like, do I have to have shared visibility in my personal relationships, in my work relationships? Am I acting with integrity? Or am I holding back information that might harm me in the short term because I feel afraid because of whatever it might be, which I definitely have to do. So I'm more disciplined where I say, no, you have to, this is the whole deal. Is everybody that I'm working with me of their own free choice? Do they have other choices? Real choices. Right now we're told we have choice in this country, but your choice is one gigantic bank or another gigantic bank or another gigantic bank, and your choice is one gigantic health insurance company that's working with the government or another one. They tell you you have choice, but the fact of the matter is that the real choices that are emerging in this world, those choices don't seem to be manifested. I think that's what it is.
Beautiful, bravo.
So anyway, there's my sermon for the night.
You have a choice.
Thank you for your attention. I really want to thank all of you guys for trusting me with your time and trusting me by risking your time with me in having this conversation. And it means a lot to me that you guys are willing to trust me to engage in this conversation. And as I told everybody else here, thank you. I will be coming back here every night. Like I said, I live around the corner. I will be coming back here every night for as long as I feel like I agree with the people that are here and that the possibility that this can become a harnessable, expanding wave exists. We have never had more potential than we have today. Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys.
Bravo. I don't think I've ever heard as much truth as that rant.
On TV? Well, I mean, that's it. But that's what it all is.